welcome. This is the India development debate right here on ET Now. Hours after the last vote was cast, indications are that the BJP is retaining power in Gujarat, maybe with a lesser number of seats compared to the last time. Exit polls conducted by independent agencies project a minimum of 99 seats, while the most optimistic number is at 135. The only exception is Chanakya, which is predicting that number for the BJP because the consensus range is 99 to 126. Now remember, the party currently has 115 members in the 182-member assembly. A poll of polls by ET Now also shows that the Congress could get a minimum of 70 seats there and the tally could go up to 82 in the best case scenario. The exit poll numbers could comfort the BJP, but surely it is not good enough to uncork the bubbly. For one, party president Amit Shah, who was directly in charge of the campaigning, was alone projecting 150 seats for the Saffron Party. Nobody expected the BJP to lose in Gujarat in any case, which is Prime Minister Modi's home state, and which is why the numbers have to be looked at differently. Now, simply put, anything below the current tally of 115 seats could come as a dampener for the BJP, considering the high decibel battle that was led by Mr. Modi himself. On the other side, it seems a breather of sorts for Rahul Gandhi, who is facing the first real test since he was elected as the Congress party chief. It is also an endorsement of his decision to go to the battlefield with Hardik, Alpesh and Jignesh in tow. So what are really the big takeaways from the Maha Battle of Gujarat, which is touted as the semi-finals ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections? Is there any indication of any roadblock for Modi's comeback? If the real numbers on Monday are in line with exit poll predictions, will it make Rahul Gandhi the rallying point for all non-BJP parties? Or is the Congress finding plain consolation from these numbers? That's the big topic of discussion right here on the India Development Debate. I'm Supriya Srinath, and let's take you straight across to an expert panel that's joining us right here on this show tonight. The two politicians on the show are Shaina NC, who represents the BJP, Sanjay Jha of the Congress Party, Gurucharan Das, author and commentator, Smita Prakash, editor News ANI, and very shortly we will also be joined by Swaminathan Iyer, a consulting editor. So thanks each one of you for being with us and welcome to this show. I hope over the next 1 hour we'll be able to put the spotlight squarely on these elections. And politicians, I request you to let each other speak. Come in when I allow you to and when I let you to. So let's do a civil discussion then. Let's kick things off. Gurucharan Das, the numbers on the table, and like our poll of polls is suggesting, 99 to 126 is the range for the BJP. Of course, Chanakya is giving it a much higher figure at 135. Has Mr. Modi been able to rescue BJP from the failings of the state government?
Well, it looks like the BJP is going to win, but one doesn't have one's full heart into this, because they should have won because they had 8% economic growth. So we've had, this election campaign has been a very sad one, because they've talked about everything except economic growth in jobs, which was the real promise that brought Mr. Modi into power. You talked about Pakistan interfering, you got Alauddin Khilji, Babri Masjid, all peripheral issues. And the real issue for our country, it's like foreign policy. The best strategy for foreign policy is 8% growth. The best strategy for an election win is 8% growth. And we are not there. So I hope the lesson, where even if Mr. Modi wins, and he will, the lesson is spend the next 2 years on getting that 8% growth and jobs in the country, and that's how you will fulfill the mandate that you were given.
You almost sound pained by the narrative of the Gujarat elections, and I think you're not the only one on the show tonight who is pained by the narrative. But Swaminathan Iyer is here with us. And Swami, I will ask you the question that I did put forward to Gurucharan Das, because the best case scenario for the BJP according to Chanakya is 135, but the consensus ranges between 99 to 126 and 70 for the Congress party. That's what our poll of polls is telling us. If exit polls are anything to go by, do you believe, and I'm going to repeat the same question, do you believe Mr. Modi has been able to do the rescue act for his party in the state of Gujarat, has been able to steer the election all around him, and in turn has rescued the party on the failings of the state government?
Well, I wouldn't want to speculate on that. I'd say, I mean, it appears that the BJP has done roughly as well as it did last time. I mean, exit polls are extraordinarily unreliable, so I have no idea what the actual outcome will be. But I mean, by and large, they appear to be showing that the BJP will do roughly as well as it did last time. This is a reasonably good achievement given anti-incumbency after 22 years, given the fact that the economy has slowed down in this last 1.5 years, given that job creation has been very, very weak. Given these adverse circumstances, I would say it's a good performance on the part of the BJP. On the other hand, I would say that from the Congress point of view, all is not lost. They also haven't done that much worse. Maybe they've gained some ground. So let us look forward to the next time. I do not think this particular result changes the direction or momentum of either Mr. Modi himself or of the BJP. In any case, they were doing pretty well after the Uttar Pradesh election win, which proved that this demonetization, far from being a vote loser, was, if anything, a vote winner. I think there are also some signs that the economy may be picking up in the last in the last quarter or so. So at this point of time, Modi is well placed, I think, for 2018. And yet anti-incumbency is such a strong issue. The question is, I mean, if he prevented anti-incumbency from coming in the way of winning in Gujarat, will he manage to also win in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh next year? That is going to be the big test.
Actually, that's a question that I do have later on. That is, has Gujarat been all about emotions, and has the son of the soil been put back in power because Gujarat can't afford to abandon Mr. Modi just yet? That's a question I will take forward in just a while. But before I take it across to the politicians, I do want to go across to Smita Prakash. And Smita Prakash, I know none of us would want to hazard a guess as far as these exit polls are concerned, but I must ask you, given the trends and given the vote share that we are seeing, the numbers for the BJP could end up being a lot higher.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, higher than what they are even predicting with Chanakya. The point is, you know, I don't see this that, you know, that the Congress has won in somehow, in some manner. I don't understand where the Congress has won. You see, winning only means winning states, winning seats. So, you know, just because Rahul Gandhi ran a brilliant campaign, I mean, everybody admits that it was a very good campaign. But campaign is not it. You know, advertising can be extremely good, but if the product is not good, it's not going to sell. So when it came to it, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry to say this, but it doesn't matter what your economy is or whatever. You know, the point is that the message that the BJP was able to deliver in Gujarat was a mix of various things, whether it is Khilji, whether it is Janeo, whatever it is. The point is that they bring their wherewithal to every election, whether Uttar Pradesh or whether it is Gujarat. They brought all their astras, everything that they had, every cannon was brought in, and they won the election. And that's what matters ultimately. Elections are about winning. So, you know, economy might be about jobs, but the fact is that for him to bring the economic, second generation economic reforms, he needs to win elections, he needs to have a majority in the Rajya Sabha, and then only can he bring about all these reforms that he wants to bring. And you know, now that you're going to see 1.5 years or 1 year that is left of this government, the bureaucracy will fall in line. The bureaucracy will realize that, you know, 2019 is not going to be out of reach for the Modi government. So they are, you know, if there were any fence sitters in the bureaucracy, they are going to be veering towards the BJP now. And it's going to be that much easier for Mr. Modi to deliver on what his promises are to the people of India, which he promised in 2014. And he has, many of them have to be delivered as yet.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not going to deny the fact here, and I think nobody on the panel will, that the BJP does bring it all its wherewithal to every election. It's a ruthless, very well-oiled political machinery, at least the duo of Amit Shah and Narendra Modi, and I don't think even the Congress is going to deny that on the show. But before I delve deeper into that, I do want to ask, Shaina NC, let me come to you. You know, if these exit polls are anything to go by, I think you will have reasons to cheer on the 18th of December, if not already. But is this a referendum of Mr. Modi's popularity? Is this a referendum for the Gujarat model of development? Is this a referendum perhaps for GST and demonetization? Issues that seemingly were critical issues that seemingly the government was criticized on. So what has been this election a referendum on?
This is clearly a referendum on the good work that has been done in Gujarat for 22 years, which in itself is historic. But the fact that we would be now in power for 27 years at a go shows you that the BJP has always done what is in the best interest of public. Now, if you talk about farmers, if you give loans at up to 3 lakhs with 0% interest, you give pregnant women up to 6 months support from the government. You have employment, which is at #1 for 14 years. You have India's manufacturing hub in Gujarat. You have industrial output, which is amazing. You have dropout rates, which were in primary schools before we came into power at 35.6%, which dropped to 1.5%. So we can go on and on and on. But you asked if this is a referendum on our Prime Minister. I think it is on his charisma, his hard work and his dedication to being a leader of a difference. Now, you may say that, you know, this exit poll suggests, I would want to say that this is probably going to be even more than this exit poll, because having travelled and campaigned in Gujarat for over a month in rural and urban areas, I can assure you that the public is not in any mood of anti-incumbency because they're very satisfied. Now, if there is a thing to understand, yes, Amit Shah ji as our party president is somebody who not just knows how to fight elections, he knows how to make the organization work at the polling booth, and that's why if we have 11 crore members today in the BJP, the largest political party in the world, it has fruitified election after election, because at the polling booth and at the polling level, we have mastered the art of winning elections, which I'm sure that in the days to come will be a case study for people to talk about, to discuss and to study. So you have, on the other hand, the Congress campaign, where you have a trial and error method. You have somebody who talks about performance but really is about to perish. So I don't want to get into any sarcastic commentary on the Congress. I can only talk about the positive work done by the BJP. Election after election, post 2013, we have really not even lost our vote share anywhere, and it has been something which has been inspiring for the cadre, because if you have strong leadership, stability and good governance, that's the way to go.
Right. Okay, Shaina NC has given a very comprehensive answer there, but the large allusion is to the point that it was the development in Gujarat and the Gujarat model that was the centerpiece of this campaign, and which is why it has won, of course, the charisma of the Prime Minister notwithstanding. My only humble submission is, I did not see Mr. Prime Minister talk about that Gujarat model of development all through the campaign. But I think before I take it across to Sanjay Jha and make it political, I do want to get Swami on this question. And Swami, what will you attribute the Gujarat vote to? Is this really all about Mr. Modi? The campaign was all about him. He veered and steered the campaign around himself. It became a prestige issue for him. And Gujarat was not willing to abandon its son of soil. Is that really what the Gujarat mandate was on, or do you really believe that the Gujarat model that is sometimes criticized is actually something that the Gujarat people are solidly standing behind? What referendum on?
Well, without doubt, it is Modi's victory much more than the BJP's victory. Without doubt. He was the face that the BJP was projecting. It was not that of the Chief Minister. It was not that of the former Chief Minister Anandiben. So, you know, Modi was seen to spearhead this. He has won, and if he has won, then obviously it is his image, it is his dynamism, it is his popularity with the Gujarat masses that has brought about this victory, fair and square. The Congress attempted to combat it with a kind of soft Hindutva. I mean, I think Pandit Nehru wouldn't have been very happy to see Rahul Gandhi paraded around as a Janyodhari Brahmin. I don't think that is the kind of position the Congress party would have taken in another era. Again, you put together the caste combination, you got some of the Dalits, you got some of the OBCs, you got some of the Patels together. That kind of caste combination, it can take you up to a point. It does not usually win elections. It did not win an election out here. I would say, I think Congress still has a serious problem, that the public image is that this is a money-making machine, this is a scamster, this is a party ridden with corruption for a very long period. That particular image is not going to be shaken off quickly. As long as that is the case, beating the Congress becomes that much easier for the BJP, and I think that's what we saw here. And I think because of that kind of confidence, in UP, for instance, Modi announced a loan waiver. He was worried about winning and therefore said, I'm going to waive all the loans for farmers. In Gujarat, Congress offered a loan waiver, but Modi did not. He was sufficiently firm on his own principles to say, no, I'm going to win here on my image of good governance or on my image of non-corruption, rather than go for populist things like the loan waiver. I'm glad he did so, and to that extent, the Modi model in Gujarat has become different than the Modi model was in Uttar Pradesh, and that's a good thing.
Okay, that's a good thing, and I think the two models differ greatly, whether one is in Gujarat or one in UP. But Sanjay Jha, I'm going to throw this to you. And you know, while Gujarat is a very trade-intensive state, and many people thought that GST is going to be a big electoral issue. In fact, your own campaign started with demonetization, loss of jobs, GST, how this is a Gabbar Singh tax. But it looks like Gujarat has waded through that. Gujarat has ignored that because, you know, the question that I really want to ask you is that did you fail to criticize the Gujarat model of development enough like you would have wanted to? Or did you actually fail to offer a counter-development model to Gujarat? I mean, what explains the fact that you, at least by the exit poll results, haven't fared as much as you would have liked to?
Supriya, first and foremost, let me tell you something that I respect exit polls and opinion polls, even if they are for us or against us. Now, I think everybody knows that exit polls can go terribly wrong because they are based on vote shares, and if the vote shares change, the seat projection can go completely different. Now, we are always also, you know, very confident based on the ground reports we have, and you know, therefore I carry a lot of sanguine hope for the December 18th verdict. But I will confess very honestly that the fact that all exit polls seem to be putting the BJP ahead is something that is definitely disappointing to me at this point of time. Although I'm very confident on the December 18th, it could be completely to the contrary. One point that I would like to make here is that, you know, I agree with what Mr. Gurcharan Das said, as opposed to what I think Smita Prakash said, that, you know, of course winning is important and winning is everything in an election. But, you know, very often in the process, if you compromise with certain principles of, I think, public standards, then I think there is a lot of collateral damage on institutions, on the august office we occupy, and very often to society itself. But let me leave that aside for the moment. I think where we were concerned, and I think the critical point is that we fought it on issues that we felt affected the common person in Gujarat. Now, to answer your question on GST and demonetization and jobs, the truth is that even if the BJP were to win on December 18th, Supriya, there is no denying that the jobs are not happening for the unemployed youth of Gujarat or India. GST has resulted in, thanks to its terrible execution, in terms of a lower GDP, which should have never happened. And demonetization has been agreed by and large by all, barring those who sympathize with the BJP, as a monumental disaster. So it will be a reductionist argument to say that if the BJP were to win, it means that all these issues don't exist. They do. The end of the day, I think what happens is nothing succeeds like success. So we'll have to wait for that on December 18th. But I do believe that at least on principle of issues that we talk about in an election, I think we focused it on the right points. Now, whether the BJP has an advantage because it led in 165 seats during the 2014 Lok Sabha elections, and if that 165 doesn't come below 91, well, you know, end of day, then it's advantage BJP. But we do believe there's a significant erosion. So even if I were to take your figures, and let's assume if this verdict were to hold what we are talking about today, and the
Right.
BJP is down
Right.
from 165 to close to 100,
Right.
it still tells you that there is a lot of disillusionment
Right.
and disenchantment even within an area that is considered to be the domain of Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah.
Okay.
But I'm still very confident that we'll pull it through on
All right.
December
Fair
18th.
point. Okay. And I put that caveat. These are exit poll numbers. But Gurucharan Das, the point that you were making earlier and the point that Sanjay Jha alluded to, and I'm going to come to you on exactly that point. You know, they called it the Gabbar Singh tax, but it looks like it wasn't an electoral issue. It looks like it wasn't an issue that people readily went there and voted on. So given that fact, will you agree with me when I say, with the assumption and some responsibility, that economy is all very important, jobs are all very important, but they're perhaps not electoral issues. They're perhaps not issues relevant enough in elections, because in elections, what is relevant is religion, sometimes caste, and it looks like a lot of emotions. It isn't the economy stupid.
Well, you know, this is surprising. Yeah, no, this surprises me because, frankly, the trading community was very significantly hurt, and Gujarat is a trading community. It was hurt by demonetization. Now, with GST, I think they are showing, the government is showing a lot of quick flexibility in making it much more friendly to the taxpayer. So the GST problems will go away, and ultimately GST is a very, very good thing for our country. So I personally think that this is perhaps the most important and the best reform that this government has done. But what surprises me is that Mr. Modi must really have some magic if to have affected the trading community in such a significant way and still come out on top. The fact is ultimately that, you know, the livelihoods matter to people, and people lost jobs during demonetization, and the charisma of Mr. Modi is that he is able to still overcome all that. What disappoints me most of all actually is that this is not the time for Mr. Modi to be spending time electioneering. This is the time for him to be spending time getting 8% growth. And I really feel we have to go back to a single election, you know, what England has done, which is now have a fixed time for a single election for the whole country. And we are always in an election mode, and this distracts everybody, and not least the leadership of the party. The time that Mr. Modi has spent on going around Gujarat should have been spent in working out the details, because there's a lot of positive. The ease of doing business is improving, and that needs to improve even further if we are going to become you know, we need to get back to 8% growth.
Yes, and that should be non-negotiable. I agree with your point, but I think politicians will tell you that their job is to do politics and to win elections, and to that matter, if Mr. Modi has to be out of New Delhi, so be it. But Smita Prakash, I do want to take the discussion away from economy for just a bit and ask you, what will you put your finger on when I ask you that what really turned the tide in this election? Because this election started off, and as the campaign went, we all thought that the BJP, you know, initially we all thought it was a cakewalk, and then of course it appeared as if the Congress was giving it some sort of a fight, and the BJP was nervous. Half its cabinet was there. The Prime Minister contested this one just like he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. What turned the tide in Mr. Modi's or the BJP's favor? Was it loose, unwarranted remarks here in the center by Congress leaders? I mean, what really polarized these elections, if I may?
Supriya, before I answer your question, I think what Mr. Gurcharan Das said, there's something that Mr. Modi will completely agree with him, which is having simultaneous elections. He's been saying this, he's been spearheading the campaign in the political front. He says that it should be discussed in Parliament. It's something that he wants, and he said this, that all political parties in private say to him, yes, it should be done, but in public, they are not. The posturing is different. Now, let me come back to your question. What went in favor of Mr. Modi? What didn't go in favor of Mr. Modi is that, the reporting that has been coming out, many of us thought that this GST, this Gabbar Singh tax, the demonetization thing, the loss of jobs, all this has impacted in an electoral way. No, it hasn't. That's not how people vote. If that was how people voted, then Uttar Pradesh wouldn't have voted so overwhelmingly in favor of the BJP. Unfortunately or fortunately, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, if you think that it shouldn't be the way that people should vote, unfortunately, that's not how people vote. People vote in various ways. Sentiment comes into play, caste comes into play, religion comes into play. And the fact is that Mr. Modi is still the most popular leader in Gujarat, and people will do Sokhoon Maaf. As far as Mr. Modi is concerned, that even if he's sitting in Delhi, the point is Mr. Rahul Gandhi is not going to come to Gujarat. He even said goodbye when he did his last press conference. He's not going to come back to Gujarat. Congress didn't have a face, and then they made several mistakes out there. Rahul Gandhi ran a good campaign, but people still don't, that link of language was not there with Rahul Gandhi. That is so important. Sitting in our metros, we don't understand how much language, how much, the way he talks, the way Mr. Modi is able to communicate with the Gujaratis. That is something that nobody from the Congress could do. Maybe Ahmed Patel could do it, but he is not a candidate for Chief Minister or even campaigning out there, So it makes a lot of difference to be a person, a son of the soil out there. Even though, Hardik and his friends, they are people from Gujarat. The people who were in favor of them, the crowds that were coming for these guys, they were like, okay, fine, we like these guys, right. They are our people, but then why should we vote for the Congress because they are saying it? Suppose the Congress doesn't give the reservation, then what?
Right. Yeah, that's a valid point, and I think the way Mr. Modi connects with the electorate in Gujarat and just how he takes to their language and how he takes to them, I think is a story to tell. But Swami, before I go back to Sanjay Jha and Shaina NC, I must ask you, a lot of the Congress people that we've been speaking to right here on the channel, they all believe that, this is a good start. Even you thought 70, not all is lost for the Congress party. Do you believe the Congress can draw any consolation out of this one? Because what you're hearing is that this shows political maturity, political commitment of Rahul Gandhi. What this shows is a mature, dignified campaign that he led. It was very spirited.
A lot of fun has been poked at Rahul Gandhi.
Can be a consolation at all?
No, all I can say, there are a lot of people who say that, Rahul Gandhi is the pits. If he is the future of the Congress has no future. I mean, there have been some extraordinarily acerbic comments made about Rahul. The results of this don't justify writing him off. As I said, we are roughly in the same kind of position that you were at 5 years ago. It does not mean that you've gone back. It does mean that you have failed to advance. And I'm not surprised that you failed to advance. Because after Congress running the country for so long, and it was not that it was being run that much better, on the contrary, got this terrible, terrible reputation for corruption. And so at this particular point of time, everybody will say, well, Rahul okay, but will he really give us the jobs that Modi is not giving? Will Rahul be able to solve all the issues that perhaps Modi has not been able to solve? So I would say, there is a problem of credibility on the part of the Congress, and had that got worse with Rahul Gandhi, they might have lost ground. It appears they have not lost ground. It appears they have still managed to hold their ground. Optimists might have said they are going to gain a lot of ground. Okay, they haven't gained a lot of ground. But I would say that Rahul Gandhi can take satisfaction in saying he has managed for the time being to hold the line. And now please go back to Sonia Gandhi's experience. What did she do? When she took over in 98, did she register huge gains? No. In 98, she just about held the Congress vote. In 99, they lost a very large number of seats. And yet in 2004, 6 years later, they were able to come out and triumph. Rahul Gandhi has that same kind of chance. He has to wait for memories of Congress corruption to fade. He has to wait for anti-incumbency to grow. And he has to wait for Mr. Modi to make a mistake or two. And if he does that, he can hope that just as Sonia squeezed in 2004, maybe he can squeeze in, not in 2019, but perhaps later on. Sonia did lose 2 elections before winning a third. Let us see how long it takes Rahul to do so. But I will not write him off. It's wrong to write him off.
All right. It's foolish to write off Rahul Gandhi, says Swaminathan Iyer. I think, sympathizers of the Congress party should be finding a lot of solace in that statement. But Sanjay Jha, I agree with you that, not all is lost. And I agree with Swami when he says that don't write off Rahul Gandhi just yet. Sonia Gandhi did lead 2 very successful campaigns, but she also did lead 2 unsuccessful campaigns to begin with before 2004. What has been a mistake in Gujarat? Or if these numbers are anything to go by, do you believe this? And I'm not going to, degenerate this and call this temple run, because I think that's what everybody else is doing. The fact that there was this attempt to appear pro-Hindutva, the fact that there was this attempt to not appear doing minority appeasing, do you believe that hasn't really worked for the Congress party? Because like the finance minister, Mr. Jaitley, said, we are the original Hindutva party. Why do you need a Me Too?
Let me try and answer this question very objectively. When I look at it, I mean, everybody agrees that Mr. Gandhi ran a very dignified campaign. He raised issues. He tweeted to Mr. Modi very directly on with data supplying questions which basically were puncturing the Gujarat model. At no point did Mr. Gandhi stoop to any kind of, shall we say, diatribe which was in any way unpleasant or had any viciousness attached to that. In fact, actually, when Mr. Modi, took Mr. Mani Shankar's Iyer's statement and made that into a big political statement, the first thing Mr. Gandhi did was to suspend a veteran of the Congress party, somebody who's been, a great contributor even in India's foreign affairs. He suspended him. So I think Mr. Gandhi did everything right. If you look at our reaching out to 3 youth leaders from 3 very disaffected segments who were feeling very unhappy that they were not part of the growth trajectory story, I think was a very sensible strategy as well. I think the Congress worked really hard. I mean, our Vikas Gando Thayoche was a forerunner and a very popular folklore in Gujarat. Now, let me tell you, you can do everything right and yet you can lose an election. So supposing we lose the election on December 18, hypothetically, let's assume if we do, I mean, that's what happened to Hillary Clinton. I mean, people win and lose elections. The Democrats have now won Alabama. Things happen in politics. Like, they say a week is a long time in politics. I remember I've been on many channels just a week ago, and all the channels have been asking me, what will the Congress do if you win the election? Now, that could still change on December 18th. So, therefore, I think going forward, there are multiple states coming up for elections in 18. And I can tell you this, every time there's a state election, we'll be talking about the impact of that on 2019. So, I will just say, we take one thing at a time. And after the 18th, probably we'll have more time to reflect on either our success, hopefully our success. But if not, we'll look at what we can do better.
Shaina, and see, I can turn the same question around on its head and ask you, if the Congress does make the stride from a 43 to a 70 and does cover that significant difference, what will you attribute this to? What do you believe has made the Congress gain in what is your traditional stronghold, in what is your traditional, that's the base of both Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah. In some sense, a lot of people believe that the Congress has walked into a template laid down by you and all of that. But what will you attribute? I mean, nothing taking away from the fact that the BJP may still retain Gujarat, given the numbers that are on our screens right now. But what will you attribute Congress's strides to?
Well, I can't answer that question because it's unimaginable and it's not the ground reality. Politics is about performance, and if you don't perform, you perish. It's not about somebody who comes in as a trial and leader, to try and reinvent himself election after election. I agree with 2 things that 2 of your panelists have said. One, when Smita ji says that Modi ji is clearly the most popular leader in the country, that's a foregone. He is, but he's also the most charismatic and committed, where coming to power is not just for the sake of being in power, but to give back to society. what Mr. Swaminathan Iyer said is also very correct, where he says that the Congress and the corrupt practices that we have seen in 60 years, what did demonetization actually do? It made a black economy white, and we did away with all these middlemen, all the drug mafia, all the terror funding, etc. Now, when my friend Sanjay says, you know, Vikas Gando thyo che, I've been in Gujarat, let me tell you, the same people were saying, Je log aa kai che, I ganda che. And I hope you understand what that means. The people who are saying this are probably the ones who are mad. So I don't want to be arrogant and say Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar, but the reality of a democracy is that when you win repeatedly, it is a mandate on your leadership, your governance and the stability you have to offer. It is not a mandate to say that, you know, we'll give one more chance to somebody who's trying to reinvent himself. It is too risky a price to play for a democracy, and the temple of democracy is clearly elections, where every election gives a mandate, and that mandate you have to work towards. And you're right when you assess that what does the Prime Minister have to do when he has so many elections to campaign for. But there's never been a more hardworking Prime Minister who has not slept more than 5 hours, not taken one day of holiday, traveled the world over and continued to work at this speed, and whose mission is to have elections for Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabhas together, so we finally do away with this heavy burden and expense on the economy.
Right. Right. Shahnansi makes a spirited point there, but I want to take two quick questions before I take a breather. And Gurucharan Das, I'm going to start with you. What is the lesson for 2019? Can Congress at all afford to make this between a direct contrast or direct confrontation between Rahul Gandhi on one hand and Mr. Modi on the other? Is it a non-starter to begin with?
Well, it's going to be very difficult for the Congress in 2019. I mean, here, this election in Gujarat mattered much more to the Congress than it did to the BJP. And really, if you ask me, and if I were in Mr. Modi's place, how I would judge myself would be that next quarter's growth numbers should be 7.5 at the minimum, because he got into office because in 2014 he promised jobs, and you won't get those jobs unless you cross 8%. And if we can go, and we can, I think the economy is showing some strength now. If we can go in the next quarter to around 7.5, then we can look at the possibility of 8, and once you go past 8, you are then in that zone when you are enjoying the demographic dividend. So if I were Mr. Modi, I would spend all my time working on that. And there are good things. I mean, the insolvency law, GST, the improvement in ease of doing business, there are a lot of positives, but you have to work hard to get those going. That would be my advice to Mr. Modi.
All right, those are words of wisdom, and we do hope the Prime Minister listens to them. But yes, he's been a man on a mission as far as Gujarat is concerned, but he's back to business as far as his speech to Indian industry was concerned. But Smita Prakash, the point that I asked, can 2019 at all be a direct confrontation between Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Modi to start with, or is that a non-starter? And if not, then is there more pressure on the Congress party to stitch together an alliance with like-minded parties?
Look, if you ask the BJP, they will say it's a non-starter because Rahul Gandhi is nowhere compared to their leader. If you ask the Congress party, they will say yes, because it's a different kind of an alternative that we give. It's not a chappan inch chati, it's not arrogance of victory, but we have a more humane way of winning elections. We have a different way. You know, but the fact is that they are also veering towards soft Hindutva. They are also veering towards majority appeasement. They are doing, if that is the winning formula, they are veering towards it. Now, Now, what is remaining to be seen is that in 2018, Rahul Gandhi has to get a team of his own going. Whether he will take his mom and dad's team and then run the next couple of elections, which is Karnataka and Rajasthan, if he's going to be going with the same old team, unlikely that he's going to win even in those states, and then forget about 2019 with that. He has to get his own team going. This time he got his own message going in Gujarat. Maybe he didn't win, but he did have an impact as far as the campaign is concerned. Now it remains to be seen whether he can give an economic alternative. You know what Mr. Gurcharan Das was saying, that this is what Mr. Modi has to do. He has to concentrate on getting job growth. He's got to concentrate on the economy. Yes, he's going to be doing that probably, but he's also going to be fighting elections, because Mr. Modi is a political animal, and it's the adrenaline rush that he gets winning election after election that makes him work in governance. So, you can't separate politics out of Mr. Modi. He's not a Dr. Manmohan Singh. He will not outsource it to somebody else in the party. It's going to be Mr. Modi doing both the jobs. What about Rahul Gandhi? Is he going to be doing both the jobs? If he's going to be doing both the jobs, which is setting about his team together and giving a direction to the Congress party, then yes, we have a battle in 2019.
A battle in 2019 if those roles are interchanged. But Swami, the question also is, if Mr. Modi does win Gujarat, and like these exit polls suggest he will, and despite the very spirited campaign of the Congress party, if the Congress ends up at about 70, 75, does that make potential allies circumspect of joining hands with the Congress? Could that be a challenge? I mean, one of the challenges that Prakash rightly points out is getting his own team. He can't be going with men and women that work with Sonia Gandhi. He has to offer an alternative narrative and all of that. But what about allies who may be circumspect as well?
Allies will be very important for the Congress party. One consequence of the rise of the BJP is that it has become much more possible to build an anti-BJP front. This did not happen in Uttar Pradesh. Mayawati was not willing to join hands with the other two. You might find the next time perhaps she will. So I think the very fact that Modi has done well will act as an incentive for other parties to get together. Now, in every state, it's going to be a local decision as to who is the leader. On an all-India basis, I think without doubt, the Congress party has to be the biggest of the non-BJP groups. There is nobody else who can really qualify. So even if the Congress ends up with no more than 80 seats, no more than 100 seats, it would be the natural leader of that particular kind of coalition. I think everybody would understand this when they go in for striking alliances at the time of the 2019 election. Whether this will make a difference, it remains to be seen. You did see that in Bihar, it made a difference. And I'm not saying Bihar will be repeated in all other places, but it can make a difference. We have to see what happens over and above just the narrow thing of the alliances. I mean, Gurcharan talks about let's hope economic growth improves and everything gets better. What happens if things get much worse? Right. The reason I bring this forward, this is an issue not tackled by anybody. There is a huge bubble in the world economy, not just on the Indian stock markets, on the stock markets in America and Europe, across the board. There are huge bubbles.
You're right.
At some point, one of these bubbles are going to burst, and it's going to have the kind of impact, perhaps, that you got in 2008, 2009. And this might happen next year in the run-up to the election. I mean, that might have a larger negative effect on Modi's chances than anything internal that we are talking about. And it's up to Rahul to see, can he jump on an opportunity like that?
Mr. Das, Gujarat, many believe, is the turning point, or was supposed to be the turning point as far as Indian economy and polity is concerned. How do you believe Mr. Modi himself is going to read this verdict? Because many people had feared that if there were an adverse impact in Gujarat, it may force him to turn a little populist, turn him more left of the center. Shift away from the whole ease of doing business and all of that. But do you believe this verdict, if these numbers do hold true on the 18th, if anything to go by, give him more elbow room, give him more political courage to go in for more second generation reforms? And especially given that the union budget is right around the corner, are we hoping for too much and asking for too much here?
Well, I think I never believed that Gujarat was really that kind of turning point. After all, it is Mr. Modi's home state, and he had that advantage. Of course, the disadvantage was that of anti-incumbency. But if you ask me, really for the rest of his term, the advice that I would give Mr. Modi is that he cares very much for his legacy. He wants to be remembered as a great Prime Minister of India. And what diminishes him is this business of Gaurakshaks and stuff that goes on. This really disturbs a lot of people. And I would just say that I don't understand why he waits a week or 10 days before he condemns something like this. You know, the headlines, the world picks it up and it makes India look bad. And since he cares so much for his legacy, I would say he should condemn it right away, and he should immediately. I don't believe he's behind it, but he's made it possible for these people to come out and behave like this, which makes us as a country look bad. So this would be my other advice for him, that I mean he's riding a wave. I think he will do well in Gujarat, and certainly he has managed to control the corruption at the top, and even the ease of doing business is improving, which means corruption at the lower end is coming down. The big reforms we need are the governance reforms, which I hope he will do in his next term. But this noise that we have, which gives grounds for his opponents, this is unnecessary. He can immediately he can immediately condemn the killing of that Muslim laborer who was the
Right.
who was killed a few days ago.
Right, right. Shaina NC, I want you to come in on that. I mean, there is no denying that Mr. Modi is riding a huge wave. He is the most popular, if not the tallest political leader in the country today. And you know, his word carries weight. I want to ask you this question, and given the electoral success that he's tasting in state after state, what stops him from condemning the cases that Mr. Gurcharan Das referred to? Why does he not come upon that heavily? Because we are definitely certain that the Prime Minister doesn't endorse them, but how about condemning them?
Firstly, I want to say that this assessment that our government is against Muslims is most wrong. It is ill-founded and it is not factual. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas actually means inclusive politics, and Mr. Modi has said time and again that Hindutva means justice to all and appeasement to none. Post the Uttar Pradesh elections, the one assessment that every political analyst made is that people across caste, creed, community were voting for him for development. Look at the way the Muslims of Uttar Pradesh have voted for us. Is that not a referendum of what the people in this country are thinking? And for those stray incidents of vigilantism which he has spoken up against and said nobody can be a moral custodian of society and law will take its course, he has not said this once, he has said it on multiple occasions. You talk about what are these factors. This is the most charismatic leader because he is non-corrupt, he is committed to his country and believes in nationalism coupled with hard work of a different breed and league. I don't think world over we have seen a leader who is able to give so many hours of genuine committed work. So I think, you know, it's very easy to sit with jaundiced eyes and come up with criticism and say he should do this and he could do that.
Right.
But let's please once think about the solutions he's given rather than just addressing problems.
Okay, very quickly, two last questions, and Swami, I'm going to come to you. And you said this, you said that, you know, winning Gujarat perhaps would have been easier because he is from there, he has a base there. What could be different for Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh? Could these elections be a different story to tell than Gujarat?
I think the aim of Modi will be to repeat the dose. Can we do it again? Yes, anti-incumbency will be there in these states, but if we could do it in Gujarat, can we do it again? I don't think it will be that easy. In the case of Rajasthan, Vasundhara Raje does not have a good reputation where corruption is concerned. She did not have a good reputation in her previous stint either. So that makes Rajasthan very different from Gujarat. In Gujarat, you could claim that, there is still this Modi model, the good governance model. It is difficult to argue that the same thing continues in Rajasthan. So I think they might have a fight on their hands. In Chhattisgarh, the BJP scraped through by the skin of its teeth in the previous 2 elections. After so many years and anti-incumbency, will it scrape through again? It would have a tough fight. Madhya Pradesh, I think, might be much easier of those 3 states. But is there a fight? Is there going to be a fight? Yes. Can Modi try and repeat the same thing? He can try, but he's going to have his work cut out. It is not going to be easy. I think anti-incumbency will be a much more serious problem, certainly in Chhattisgarh and in Rajasthan.
Right. Okay, Sanjay Jha, very quickly, I'm sorry I'm running out of time here, but I'll give you the last word on the show and I will ask you, what is the Congress party hinging its hope on from now to 2019? What can change for you?
No, I think the best thing that's going to happen is that we'll have Mr. Rahul Gandhi taking over as formally as the Congress president. And I think, I can tell you already during the Gujarat campaign, there was a perceptible, kind of motivation that the Congress workers were feeling, not just in Gujarat, but all over the country. I think the Congress team is galvanized. I'm not talking about just the team of social media who are doing a fantastic job, I believe, even in campaigning and communication and strategy. But I think Mr. Rahul Gandhi will have now his own team who will be with him for a considerably long period. More important, I think the Congress party, has found a lot of good leaders, and we're in the process of identifying those who will be taking basically the politics of managing these states forward. So I think we are in a positive momentum, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully, if we get a positive verdict on December 18, although today I can see that the mood seems to be a little bit of a dampener because all the exit polls say otherwise. But if December 18 proves to be a surprise, then that will add further spring to the already gathering forward momentum we have.
Okay, so the Congress party continues to hinge its hope on Rahul Gandhi, but Gujarat, as they say, has perhaps going to be taken by the son of the soil, Mr. Modi. Gujarat may have been upset, may have been angst, but it's not willing to abandon Mr. Modi just yet. They want him to come back in 2019, and they don't want to be a factor to keep him away from that. But thank you very, very much, Shaina NC, Sanjay Jha, Smita Prakash, Gurucharan Das, and Swaminathan Iyer once again for joining us on the India Development Debate. An absolute pleasure to be talking to you this evening. It's over to Top 10 at 10 with Tanya Bharadwaj.